Okay, so we hope with a seamless transition from the first part to the second part. So we're still with Felix there doing his space drop. So let's see how we got on. Right, I think you remember from the external environment, the publics, the phrase there, how we use that. And it means anyone and everyone outside the organisation and inside it who can have an impact on you. So customers, past, present and future, all these things here, guys, that you've got to, you know, interact with at some point. Now this could be because of pollution, so if you live near a place, that's obviously going to be a high topic for them in the media, etc. Unleaded fuel was a thing before, and the effect that this had on, I think it was brain damage or something like that, big thing in the 70s and 80s. And imagine here, it's a picture, if you lived near a football stadium, now you think about the sometimes the vandalism, the noise, the parking, the bad behaviour, urinating in the streets, but yeah, I've stopped all that now. But all of that sort of stuff, the club they have to consider the impact it has here. So, and that could go nightclubs as well. All the things you have to think about, not just your customers, but the wider base there. So the publics, okay? What we have here is just publicity, bad publicity. There's the United Breaks Guitars, and this is one. So, what if you're a group and an airline damaged your guitar, and what would you do? You would write them an email, you might phone them, write an angry letter. If that gets you nowhere, you write a song about it that gets about 20 million hits on YouTube. Now it's on the YouTube channel. It's actually quite a catchy tune, and I also stuck it on the main page of our googly stuff, right? Now you think, well, that's bad enough. How could it get worse? Well, also on the YouTube page, it's a passenger getting dragged off a United Airlines plane. Now, basically, they had to move some of the crew. They had to be on the plane to be in another city. And what you would normally do in this case, the airline would, before anyone boarded, they say, look, does anyone want to take a later flight? Here's an incentive. If that, $200. If that doesn't work, here's money and we'll put you up for a hotel. They keep going up in price until they get someone to give up their seat. In this case, people were on their seats. They actually boarded the plane and said, right, we need a couple of people off. And they picked this guy who was a doctor and they dragged him off. So the video was very harrowing and it was bad publicity for the company. I think it was made it worse by the fact that the managing director, chief executive, tried to defend it and he couldn't defend it. It's now been settled out of court. And then if you think things couldn't get any worse for the company, there was another story, also the video on YouTube, that someone gave them their dog, which was in a wee basket, and it was put in the overhead locker, and it suffocated. So United Airlines, not good publicity there, not good PR. Now this slide here is just looking at the advantages of PR, and it's obviously, here's the main one: good citizenship. It's the right thing to do. It's like a corporate moral responsibility here. It can maybe reach difficult to reach audiences here. Crisis management is important, so you don't just think, literally, if you're an airline, you would have a folder that say, in the event of a crash, this is what has to happen here. You don't just think, oh my God, how did that happen? There's steps you have to go through here, and it can be cost effective. You can be flexible with the message, etc. Maybe you can be the source of advice and important trends people come to you. So a whole host of things here. Putting Donald Trump here because Donald Trump, I've mentioned, he communicates through Twitter, and what happens is it generates publicity, and it's then reported about in the media. And so he complains about his negative press, the fake news, etc. But he controls the agenda directly using this. So that's a communication method as well. This idea of the weaknesses of PR, well, how do you measure it? How do you measure that people think well of you? You can do some research, but it changes. And if it's something, a fast moving situation, you don't control it, right? Any story out there, you might put out a press release, you might have a photo opportunity, you might do something. There's no guarantee that it's reported positively, right? And part of that thing here is journalists as gatekeepers. Now, it doesn't have to be journalists, it could even be a radio DJ or a blogger that you have no control over, and they can say, look what this company's doing, what a waste of time, this is terrible. So these are the things here. You can do something, how other people spin it, becomes important. So you try and influence them, but you can't control it. And you see down the side here the list of the PR tools, all these things, press releases, writing a press release is a skill, so the whole sort of things you can do. And if you're going to have charity, you don't just give a check, you give a big check, right? And you make know that people know that you've done this here. Photo opportunities, this one here is Boris Johnson. He was on a zip wire. You always think what can go wrong. One of these zip wire things, they get tangled up and he's left there waving flags. Now, you might think, oh, that's negative, but he became the leader of the Conservative Party. He became the Prime Minister. So maybe some people think, oh yeah, Boris is he's game for a laugh. That's good for them. Some reason. So can be bad, but for some people it could work. If you're an American president and you go to Dublin, you always have a pint of Guinness. So Guinness, make sure that happens. The one up here, so it goes wrong. BP spill in Deepwater Horizon off the coast of New Mexico in America. Does New Mexico have a coast? Probably does. Anyway, the thing is, it was a disaster, and the chief exec there said, oh yeah, it's really bad, I should be on my holiday. Long story short, he get kicked off the board, he had to resign within a month, and these images appear denigrating the logo of BP. Right, so when it goes wrong, that's the crisis management aspect here. See, these are the tools. PR's is a big topic in itself. We're just running through some of the main ones here, but something to think about, to recognise when you're reading in some newspapers. In fact, there's a word here I'm going to just come into my head. It's not journalism, it's churnalism, right? Sorry, churnalism. Yeah, bear with me. And this is when a newspaper takes a PR story provided by someone and they just run with it. And funnily enough, I've got the copy of the Daily Record sitting in front of me here, and rest assured there'll be a few journalism stories in there where they repeat it without challenging it in any way, particularly in the football pages. But enough of that. There's examples here, we've mentioned before, no such thing as bad publicity. Well, this one is SeaWorld, and of course this is these guys up here with this road sign, SeaWorld sucks. There's a Netflix documentary on blackfishing. It caused a lot of negative publicity for the company. I think they might have changed some of the processes to do with the whales and the dolphins, but I'm not too sure if it's totally acceptable to like the people who are concerned about them. There's also two stories here which are they're infamous in terms of British PR, the McLeod trial and Gerald Ratner there. You can read about both of them on the Googly stuff, so go and look there, but it's examples of how it turns into a nightmare with the bad publicity. Now this one here, mentioned before, sometimes that's not negative here. This is, we mentioned before KFC when they couldn't get the chicken and it was a disaster, terrible news really, but they put out an advert and it says that I think they were sorry, and of course they made it a bit humorous, so they apologised. It took the sting out of the story, right, and it turned a negative story into, hey, look how good, I've nearly said French Connection there, how good Kentucky Fried Chicken is, right? So that's great PR work here. Even the one down here, the bottom left, is all these advertisers in London, they turned their logos yellow with the advert to support Marie Curie, and it was to point out that when the clocks went back, that these guys, the nurses, worked an extra hour unpaid. And it highlighted this. So, small thing, but it's company saying, yeah, can you imagine if you said, no, we don't want to take part in this? You can even see the Coca-Cola one up here. So they forgo the red for yellow. I think it was just for 1 hour, but they get publicity from it. The one here is a missed opportunity. we buy any car, well, there's the car that the guy said he wanted to sell. And of course, rather than treating it amusingly, rather than have a positive story, they sent a rather "don't contact us," very sniffy letter, etc. So sometimes you have a sense of humour. I've seen these things where the company does respond. They might write to children or something like this, and they turn a positive, a feel-good story, and that's what you're looking for, not this sort of stuff here. So looking at sponsorship here, key points here as you can read there. The key thing is it's financial or material support, and it's not a charity, right? Charity's PR. When you give money to someone and say, even when you give it the big check, that's not sponsorship. That's charity. Here, you're doing something because you want something back. Even as simple as a pub, it might sponsor a football team. It will be the case that they'll say, well, when you've done your training, come in for us after the game or something. So that's what they would do here. And there's more notes on this in the Google stuff. So, and I think the point I've got here, the Colgate Comedy Hour, these were ones that started in American actually, the radio and TV shows first. If you lost a sponsor, boom, that your show was in trouble. So they would even vet the scripts. They would look and think, oh no, we don't like this. So, he who pays the piper, etc. And of course there's books on this thing as well. So the whole history of how the sponsors controlled this in the past. In Britain, we didn't get the sponsorship, didn't really take off until much later. And of course, the key areas for sponsorship. So we know about TV and radio, which wasn't the case before, but now there's anything and everything. Even like the weather forecasts are sponsored like this. It can be sport. Up here, the first football team in Britain to be sponsored was Kettering Tyres, which was this player Derek Dugan's team, and immediately the FA in England cracked down on them and said, no, you can't do that, and they hammered them. Now, of course, clubs fall over themselves to get sponsors. Sometimes they've got more than one sponsor on the strip at a time. In Scotland, I think the first team to be sponsored was Hibs, Hibernian. They had Buckter on, and of course, as soon as they played, the BBC said, we're not showing you with those strips on here. There's a link down here to a brief history of football shirt sponsorship. This is on our site. So I think it's interesting, a lot of football stuff on there. So the arts up here, and could you even include, that's the Rolling Stones. Concerts can be sponsored by, that's a beer company. So anything and everything can be sponsored. Even politics, maybe highbrow, maybe a debate of some sort, maybe a tour by a speaker. So I think in America the university tours by ex-politicians are big events, or even community events. McDonald's get fed up with the idea of big Premier League players disgracing themselves. They put their money into community football. So all these different things. So look out for it anytime you see sponsorship around. And of course, this is an example with the referees who are sponsored by Specsavers. So it makes, the idea, referee gets some specs, but this is funny. And the thing is, they give them eye tests, they give them discounts on it, so it makes sense here. So look around and think, why is somebody sponsoring this? What's the link between them and the audience? So just be more observant. Sometimes you might think that's obvious, sometimes you might think, no, I don't get that at all. These are the reasons why you would do sponsor. This is what you're trying to achieve. It's about an image. You're creating an image. It could be caring or sophisticated or fun or whatever it may be. Sales, don't forget the sales. Positioning, remember the old repositioning. So you could say, no, remember Lucozade. So you might think start sponsoring sports events to push this sporty image. Raises awareness. A lot of the times when you see a brand for the first time, it's because you've never heard it, because they're sponsoring a TV program. That's the way you get awareness. It could be a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or Coronation Street or Big Bang Theory, something like that, where you think, oh, I've never heard of them, but that's the starting point. You've now heard of them. So we'll get corporate responsibility, segments, new distribution channel, and this could be one publicity. This thing here, down the bottom left, that's a dugout right? And it's in the shape of a beer can here. So you want to get sponsor a roundabout. Not quite sure why you do that. But in this one here is an example of it going too far. I think some big game in America, sponsored by McDonald's, and you know this thing where the team walk out and the team on either side and the referee picks up the ball. They had Ronald McDonald pick up the ball, right? But you know, they're allowed to do that. They pay the money. So these are advantages of sponsorship here. You know, you can read them. You know, cost effective, especially if it's compared to advertising. You might think, you know, you look at that cost per thousand in advertising and say, well, way too much here. It can deliver specific audiences. So, you know, usually find where the alcohol and the gambling sponsorship, football, males, younger people, that's what they'll go for. So you target it. Maybe it creates goodwill if you sponsor it. Yeah, that's good. People like it. Of course, it could work the other way if it's a team you don't like and negative feelings towards them. This is important. You integrate with your other promotional activities. So you don't just sponsor something and sit back. You promote it, you advertise it, you have a competition. So you build it all in here. And of course, the thing in communications, don't know if you can see, IMC, Integrated Marketing Communications, critical. And you can get publicity here. And on your objectives of awareness, image, all these objectives you have for advertising apply here. Some examples, this one here, I think this was in the European Championships. The Danish player, he scored a goal and ran away, and he sort of lifted up his shirt to reveal his Paddy Power boxer shorts, right? But that did not go down well because they had sponsored, Paddy Power were not sponsoring the event, they were sponsoring the player. And of course, one of the stories that came out of this was the player was fined something like £50,000. I think Paddy Power paid it. And then the Russian fans were fined for racism, and they were fined something like the Russian Federation €5,000. And as someone pointed out, so you know, if you chant offensive racist abuse, €5,000. If you show your pants, 50,000. Right? There's one, a typical one for, you know, the Olympics here. Paddy Power sponsoring the largest events in London, France. I presume there is a London, France, because if you try to associate yourself with an event you're not sponsored, bad news. This one here is Paddy Power, the non-sponsors of Huddersfield Town. The story's on the googly stuff, and it's quite funny because, well, read it, and there's also a video on YouTube that you can see how Paddy Power, they're not sponsoring Huddersfield Town, right? So it's unsponsoring, which is a good idea, but sometimes, like me, half the time you can only recognise a strip by who the sponsor is. Now, bad timing here because in the branding slides, branding, when we talked that, I had a story about the Washington Redskins and about changing their name, and I took it out because I thought, yeah, that's a few years old, nothing's going to happen here, because the idea is the Washington Redskins, you know, and there's the symbol there, you know, the chief. In America, a lot of college and university organisations, they've had Indian or Native American based names, they've changed them to be, you know, less offensive, but the Washington Redskins, a more popular brand, they kept it, and they said they would never change it. But now what's happened is, why am I bringing it up here? Because the sponsors said we're not happy, right? The sponsors said, because people are, this is the thing is, instead of going to the club, people started boycotting the sponsors and saying, wait a minute, you're happy with this? And they've changed it. I don't know what they're changing it to, but it just shows you this is a thing about the sponsors taking moral authority, right? More and more we're seeing this, the sponsors, instead of being the bad guys corrupting the game, they're saying, no, we don't want it to damage our brand. So what are the troubles with sponsorship? Well, you've got to think what can go wrong, you know, and there's Tiger Woods here as an example. Now, Tiger Woods, marital problems and stuff like that's not a big problem, but when it affected his golf, it became a big problem. And a lot of sponsors ditched them. Some ditched because of the image. You've got, because you've got to have a get out clause. So you're always think what can go wrong, and that's why you could see in Scotland, if someone you could see football violence and suddenly there's your name across with football violence going on and your name's on the strips and you might think, whoa, where did that come from? So you've got to plan out for this. Ambush marketing, that's like the Paddy Power, where someone jumps in and takes the sponsorship and people think you sponsored the event when you didn't. Like here, for example, this is one, it's Michael Jordan. America won the basketball gold years ago at the Olympics, and it might look he's so patriotic, he's draping the American flag over his shoulder. What he's actually doing is, Michael Jordan was associated with Nike, but Reebok sponsored the American team. He's actually covering up the Reebok logo. So Reebok would be unhappy. Nike would be thinking, well done, Michael, you're one of us, right? So, these are the things you've got to avoid. Political issues could come up, and could be careful. There's one in America just now with some food owner, a Latino food owner, praising Donald Trump, and now other people in the Hispanic community are not happy with this company. So watch out to see what happens here. Goes measuring the impact. How do you measure the impact? Maybe awareness could be one thing, but does it lead to more sales? And maybe you get involved with it because you miss out, right? Maybe you think, oh, we'll sponsor a football team, we'll sponsor this event because someone else is. Oh, this story here was actually the Royal Shakespeare Company. This is a political one whereby sponsored by BP gave money to them to help give free tickets to unemployed or young people who couldn't afford it. But some actors said, no, we don't like the drilling and the pollution that the BP do. And the Royal Shakespeare Company then said, okay, it's not worth the hassle. They stopped that scheme. And I'm thinking, well, it's a grey area, but this is where some people said, why did you do that? Because you're stopping young people from getting to see the Royal Shakespeare Company. So is there a moral thing here? This is where it becomes a bit messy. Okay, that's the sponsorship out of the way. Just want to run through here with personal selling. Of course, there's an Institute of Sales Management, which you can look up here. And it's, as we say here, process of using personal communication in an exchange situation to inform and persuade people to buy products, right? This is a sad image. We have the stereotypical image of the used car salesman. We had this in the sales concept, short-term thinking. And that's a bit unfair because people might say they work in sales, but some people they take the orders, or more value are the people who get the orders, right? They're invaluable. Of course, what you're selling, what qualities would you expect to find in a successful salesperson? Now, some things might run through whether you're selling a used car or a luxury yacht. Can you imagine, it obviously could be a team here, or advanced medical equipment, or even if you're business to business selling Coca-Cola to, a corner shop or Tesco or something like that, or financial services. So think about the qualities you would expect to find in a successful salesperson, okay? And I'll go through a few in the next slide. So pause me and think about them, please. Okay, I'll work on the basis you did pause me. So what makes a good salesperson? And Del Boy figure here as well. Talking, you might have said talking is one of them. Yeah, communication skills important. Confidence, yes. No, not a room for, I can't say shrinking violets. I should put maybe withdrawing violets. Quick thinking, yeah, you've got to think on your feet and dealing with objections, etc. But probably the key thing for a salesman and person, sorry, and I'm putting on here and you can't see because it's red against the thumb, is listening skills. You listen to what the person's saying. You're looking for clues. You're looking for body language. You're looking at the other people. You're reading the room to use the jargon, right? It's the listening skills. So listening, the thinking, the communication, right? And it's a skill. Now you can train in it, but the best salespeople I know are natural, right, at it. of course, here, there's this up here. People all sell sand to the Arabs, ice to the Eskimo. No, that's not a modern sales professional, because it's about a relationship as we're going long term. When you're taking people from a prospect to a suspect, and that could take years. You've got to make a pitch, overcome objections, reassurance, close the deal, sign in a dotted line, and then follow up. So these are the things, it's a long-term view. And if you're selling something, if you're selling ice to Eskimos, I don't think we call them that anymore. That's not a great mark of things. So key issues in sales, again, selling, you can study this in more depth. We used to have a module on it, but how big your sales force should be, how do you recruit them, how do you train them, what rewards you give them, incentives, bonuses, commission. Remember, financial services, people were getting big incentives for selling pensions to people that they shouldn't have been getting in the first place. So I don't think they gave it back either. How do you motivate them when things are going? We've got, of course, here, Death of a Salesman. There's also a great, it was a play, and then it's a film as well, and I'm struggling to spell it, and you can see I'm struggling to spell it as well, say it probably, but Glengarry Glen Ross. It's about selling, and it's about depression. And of course, you could also look at the Tin Men, which we show a clip on. That's also a good movie. I gave up writing here. I'm left-handed and the mouse is on the right-hand side. Anyway, you get the idea here. Okay, Death of a Salesman. Harold Pinter, was it? And it's Willie Lomax was it? I think I remember seeing it once. Not a fan. Right, to sum up all the communication thing here, so each promotional tool, all the things we PR, sales promotions, etc., sponsorship, it's a specialist area, specialist agency, specialist skills. But you need to integrate them with an overall plan, right? Now, your actions, you can be strategic or long term, but sometimes it's tactical. Get something, fighting fire with fire, or maybe just getting your message out there in the short term. But measurement is critical, and I think we've got a picture of Lance Armstrong there. So of course, so much goodwill towards this guy, and then when it was revealed he was a cheat, all comes crashing down. So that's the danger of it. Even you could be so happy you were the guy signed him up for all your campaigns for 6 years. Was it 6 or 7 Tour de France, and then it crashes down. C'est la vie. Okay, thanks for listening.